Welcome back to Vandy Football Insider. I'm Dave Ammenheuser, the sports editor of the Tennessean. With me today are Jeff Lockridge, our Tennessean beat writer, and Barton Simmons from 247sports.com. He's our recruiting expert joining us today. Guys, let's talk a little bit more about Vandy football. Barton, are there any names on that list of 10 that they've already got that could make an impact immediately next year?
Well, I mean, I think there's several, and frankly, you know, Jeff talked about how big this defensive back group is, and they're going to need some of those guys to contribute right away, particularly at the safety position. Two guys I'll mention. One guy's Kyle Gibson, who is a kid that they're really fighting to keep on board because UCF is coming strong, so he's one to watch down the stretch. He's a defensive back out of Tampa. And he could be a corner. I mean, frankly, for Derek Mason, because of his size and length, he may be a corner in their defense. Some have recruited him at safety, but he is important to keep on board because he's one of the most highly rated guys. He is the most highly rated kid for 247 Sports as far as the guys they've got committed. And then one other guy to keep in mind is a kid named Jesse Burkett, offensive lineman, also out of Florida. Really talented kid. You know, again, I mentioned some of the guys that I think the Derek Mason staff wasn't that thrilled about that were already committed when he first got the job. This is not one of those guys. Stanford wanted him, really talented football player, and we'd all know the emphasis Stanford puts on those offensive linemen. I think you're going to see that same sort of emphasis trying to make that a glamour position at Vanderbilt, and Burkett, it would be a great building block.
Okay. Jeff, can you talk about the lone remaining mid-state recruit, Emmanuel Smith, right?
Yeah, Emmanuel's a good one, and we talked about the size of some of these defensive backs. Well, he's got size. I believe he's 6'2" and over 200 pounds now. Yeah. Obviously, he showed a ton of talent in high school. They like his body size on the back end of that defense, and he could also be a guy that factors into the equation early. You look at the secondary and the way it's set up with the guys they've got coming back. They lose all 4 starters. Kenny Ladler's a huge loss at free safety, but you've got Andrew Williamson, you've got Jamel McIntosh, you've got some guys who have some reps in there, but in terms of depth, and you got to have that depth, especially when you go to your nickel and dime packages, some of these freshmen are probably going to have to get on the field, and Emmanuel, with his body size, if he can have a good fall camp, would certainly be a candidate. Another key aspect to his recruitment, of course, is his younger brother Josh, who will be a rising senior at Oakland High School, and somebody else Vanderbilt would like to get on board eventually.
Yep. Where does he play?
He's a linebacker and a good one, and as Barton told me, potential maybe with his body size to move into a defensive end spot.
Okay. Question for both of you guys is, are there any left remaining mid-state guys out there who haven't signed that Vandy could possibly take a look at?
Well, I mean, I think one guy to mention is Bruno Reagan at Clarksville, and Vanderbilt's previous coaching staff was aware of him. They had recruited him a little bit, and he had camped at Vanderbilt over the summer. He's committed to USF, and that's the staff that was previously at Western Kentucky. So that's kind of where that connection came from. They really liked him when they were at Western Kentucky under Willie Taggart. Now at USF, they recruited him down there. And frankly, I think he'd be a pretty nice little late steal. He's probably going to visit this weekend officially. This is a kid that's a state champion wrestler. He is a world-renowned judo wrestler. So he's got an interesting background. Didn't start playing football till he was a sophomore. A lot of athleticism. So he's one of those sort of late sleeper type guys that Vandy's in on. And certainly is sort of a guy to watch here down the home stretch.
Most of those judo moves are illegal. You can't get penalized for that. But Barton may be a little bit too young to remember, although you've got your NBA connections. You probably remember another state champion wrestler that I would have covered back when he was in high school, pretty good offensive lineman named Scott Wells at Brentwood Academy.
No doubt.
Who's given quite a few snaps over the years to Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. So, you know, a good track record of wrestlers going on to do good things.
So when they bring Bruno in this weekend, and
if he visits,
I mean, how does Vanderbilt go about recruiting these kids? Explain that to maybe some people watching who don't really understand the whole recruiting process. They bring him in, they just say, hey, look at the campus, or do they have like a very structured schedule for these guys when they come in?
Well, I'll say this. I think one of the real emphasis of this Vanderbilt recruiting official visits over this last weekend and next weekend is not as much, you know, showing the bells and whistles and jump through a bunch of hoops for these guys, but more just sitting down with the coaching staff, with the current players, building relationships, because this is a coaching staff. The assistant coaches, Carl Durrell came from the NFL. Brett Maxey, defensive back coach, came from the NFL. Coach Thompson from the outside linebackers coach came from San Jose State. I mean, they're recruiting guys that they don't have relationships with yet. So I think the most important thing for these assistants and for the staff right now is to just sit down with these guys and really make them comfortable with the situation, and they'll be eating a lot of food too.
That's right. Normal official visit this time of year. The coaching staff has had a long-standing relationship with the kids, so you're not having to work on that. You're taking them around campus, and Vandy in past years would use this weekend to go meet the dean of the department, in which the kid wants to major, and started establishing some academic relationships. Let them spend more time with their future teammates. But like you said, right now it's about figuring out what position they would play and getting them comfortable with the coaches that are on staff.
Great. All right, we'll be right back and talk a little bit more about last year's recruiting class and whether any of those guys can make an impact on Vanderbilt this fall.